What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a very sad losers edition of the Extra Yard after what was probably the worst Dolphins loss I've lived through in a really long time. Kai, I know you're going to have to go real quick. So, Kai, just give us one nugget, one thing that you want people to remember you being on here for even if it's just 3 minutes.
Ethan talked football on the radio today. And by football, I mean soccer.
Hey.
Wow, look at that. You made him feel young. I'm proud of you. I
did.
for doing that.
No, I guess if it's one takeaway, if you live in the Miami area, don't come play tennis. Tennis is a dying sport, and the people that play tennis at my park are really mean to me. So stop playing tennis. Taco's going to be a great fill-in for me today, and I appreciate him filling in. You guys are going to have a great show, and if there's my one last note would be shout out to everybody at 5 Reasons for doing the right thing yesterday and not having shows and pushing things back. I will see you guys later. I will be in the chat and watching. Manny, you're the MVP as well. Adios.
See it, Kai. Taco, we didn't talk to you about this yet, but really we're hoping to just have you fill in for Kai from now on. I don't know if Kai's still watching. I think he's probably still transitioning, so we'll just keep that.
So basically, I'm the Kylie Wang of Ethan's show.
Exactly.
It's a coup.
Exactly. Okay. Everything's a coup in 5 Reasons. But yeah, like I said, we had a really bad week. That loss to the Bills was not one that was fun to watch. Nothing broke our way in any of the other games. The Dolphins are missing the playoffs despite being as high as 88%, according to, I think it was the NBC predictions that they were running every week. They're really trying to do like the presidential candidate stuff. They wanted to look cool. It wasn't that cool. But this show, as always, is an extension of 3 yards per carry. Make sure you listen to 3 yards per carry every week. It's a really fantastic listen. They put out a lot of great stuff. And Juan and Alfredo put out some good film on the YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out as well. But let's get right to it. Taco, what was your feeling walking away from, I don't even know what to call that performance at this point, just a bad time?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm wearing the all black. Steve did.
Nice. Oh, man, Juan's wearing black too. I'm the only one that didn't do it.
R.I.P. to Gailey.
Well, I went to the Black Dolphins. I went the extreme where I was saving it for that day that I thought would never come. No, we didn't expect this to begin with, right? So I think more what happened in terms of the negativity right now, it's anticlimactic.
Right.
All the good stuff happened before that last game. So if you flip the Raider game and the Bills game, how do we feel right now? Like if they didn't get in, but the way they played that last game was the Raider game. So it kind of, when you step back and look at it from a bigger perspective, it's the same idea where we didn't expect this to begin with. The changing of the quarterbacks the entire season, which we'll talk about all that. But it was hard for me to be mad. Like I think I went into it looking at it like it's either going to be the first round of the playoffs that this is going to happen or it's going to be this game.
Right.
And I was just hoping it wasn't going to be that game because it was the Bills and Josh Allen. But I wasn't surprised. I didn't take too much of it. You can't. It's like the highs and the lows. You don't want to get too high about something. You don't want to get too low about it. I didn't think it was too crazy. The defense clearly carried them through a lot of games this year, which covered up a lot of stuff, and it just didn't do that.
Yeah. Juan, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, kind of just to piggyback off of Taco. I mean, it's just I think it sucks because it was the last game of the year, and it leaves a nasty taste in our mouth heading into the off season where we thought we would, realistically be, looked at as darlings, having playoff aspirations with a top defense, a top 3 pick, which by the way, that was probably the only good break that we had on Sunday because every other game that we needed to have, it just didn't go our way besides for that Texans game when they gave us the 3rd pick. And, shout out to Tannehill for that parting game.
I mean, it shouldn't have been that close in the first place. Let's be honest. I was
watching
by the Titans.
I was watching that game live and a couple other ones, but that one specifically. And I tweeted out 3 different times, Tannehill got us the 3rd overall pick. And then it was a penalty. And then Tannehill got us the 3rd overall pick and then another penalty. Yeah. And then by the 3rd time, it was just like, finally he got us the 3rd overall pick. But I think it was also like Taco was saying too, the whole year Not necessarily that we relied on our defense, but they definitely carried us. And I not that I felt like we were due for a letdown game, but the PTSD of a Dolphins fan, kind of lets you know that there is a letdown game coming.
Right.
It was, I thought it was the Raiders game. I thought we were going to come in prepared and focused for the Bills, but they attacked us at every single weakness. And a lot of the time early in the game, it just didn't even feel like they were really kind of trying. It felt like more so they were, trying a bunch of little things to see how we would respond and that type of stuff.
Yeah. So that game, what was tough for me is it felt like this was going to happen either this week or next, right? Just because that's kind of what's happened. So I've been a Dolphins fan my whole life. I've only understood football since maybe 2004, 2005, right? We've made it to the playoffs twice since then.
Yeah.
And both times we made it to the playoffs, we got demolished once we did make it, right? It was a really big reminder of you're not ready. This isn't you.
Now, it's almost the extreme of that. You understand, like, it takes time to get to the next round each year. But, man, it's been rough. They get blown out.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, it's like, I don't know how bad I should feel about this because this does feel different than those other years. Granted, it is different than 16 and 8 and 08 because we didn't get blown out of the playoffs. We got blown out in the last game of the season. But it does feel different, right? It feels like we have a direction. At that time in 2008, I wasn't really confident in who was the quarterback, Chad Pennington. Like, Pennington was okay, but he was never healthy. He wasn't the guy.
Henne.
We knew that. Chad Henne was the next one coming up, and we know what happened there. And then in 16, our quarterback was what? Matt Moore? Tannehill was out. But Tannehill was out, so it was Matt Moore. And then you're like, maybe Tannehill could be it, but you could kind of tell that team wasn't there yet. So to me, this team feels different. Do you guys agree with that? And if you do, what is it that you think makes it different? And if you disagree, tell me why.
I would probably say there are differences, right? There obviously are differences between the 08 and the 16 season, just because those 2 years specifically don't really feel. And by the way, we're gonna have to talk about Watson.
Yeah.
It's all over the comments.
Oh yeah.
But I just feel like there are differences, right? We didn't have 3 200-yard games rushing. We just had 1 250 by the team. In 08, we didn't have a wildcat game. We didn't have any we didn't have anything crazy like that, right? This felt more so like we found a
the Raiders. I'll give you the Raiders game. The one.
Okay.
Right.
I'll give you that. The Raiders, right? But more than that, it felt like we found the recipe, right? We found, okay, we're gonna play defense. We're gonna control the ball. We're not gonna turn it over. We're gonna have these long drives, and then we're gonna have a rookie QB that we're gonna play ultra conservative, right? So it does feel a little different in that sense. But where it's been kind of like as the days has gone on, and the more kind of like I rewatched the game, where it kind of bothers me is, Flores, for all the right decision he's made some really questionable ones. And I'm not talking about in-game management, right? Because I will give him that. He's one of probably the best in-game managers. But for me, his choice in coordinators, one, and also I definitely think that Bills game was kind of like the not necessarily the karma that we built up, but the whole between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tannehill and Tua, quarterback starter.
Our luck was running out.
Yeah, like it just felt like it got to a point where it was like, okay, now we're stuck. We're down 2 scores, 3 scores. Where's our spark? Where's Fitzpatrick? Oh, well, he's at home. Right. Now what does the team do? And it just felt like that team was missing that spark. That because of Flores naming, Fitzpatrick, quote unquote, the spark setter, the reliever, the closer, whatever he wants to call him, I felt like that put us in a position to where we were missing that element on Sunday. And that's only caused because of him going back and forth with the quarterback.
Right. Now, before I let you go, Taco, I asked Manny to pull up the team stats from that game because we talk about that luck running out, right? We talk about the run coming to an end. And I wanted you guys, I don't know if you guys actually saw the team stats, right? Like compared to two, because I tried to stay away from this game as much as possible. But you look at these team stats, and this is pretty crazy to me. Like, look at how similar a lot of these are, right? We had 3 more first downs than them. We had 1 less yard than them. Granted, I understand a lot of that was garbage time when they're playing prevent defense and stuff. But like,
we haven't even mentioned the 11 or 12 or 13. I don't.
right?
Every day I keep seeing a new number, but the number of drops that Tua had, and he
but
had
this is what's really interesting, right?
Passing. It's crazy.
Like, look at these numbers, and then look at the score. No one would ever guess this is the box score in team stats when a game is a 30-point differential with one of them scoring 56. Honestly, the Dolphins played poorly, but we also got the bad break on everything possible, right?
Return,
like Parker
slipping,
punt return, and yes, it is some of it
Matt
catching
Collins
up to us.
fumble.
And I don't think we beat the Bills even if we don't have those things happen. But what I'm saying is, I think people look at the score and think, oh, we're never going to get there. It's like, hey, slow down. It was a lot of bad breaks that led to that score. We can go back to full screen now. Manny, thank you.
And just so we're clear, that's in no way of me saying that Fitzpatrick being in there would have won us the game. That's just me saying that because of the role that Flores put on him, that's what it felt like the team was missing.
Yeah. But, Taco, what did you think? We were talking about the question earlier. I kind of forgot.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing. I think ultimately, like, if I look back and my excitement watching the games this year compared to previous years, what my wife has a video of me. She posted. She didn't tell me she was taking it, of course. But I was reacting to one of the games where there was like, a bunch of interceptions and special teams touchdowns. And I was on the phone with my dad, and I was like, it wasn't like I was crying because I wasn't crying, but I was like in disbelief. I was like,
right.
Everything's going right. Like, this is the opposite of what normally happens. And that's, to me, what I saw the biggest difference was throughout the season. And the idea of, luck running out or whatever, I mean, that's separate, although it can be attributed to that.
Right.
But I think when you look back at it and you say, okay, maybe we shouldn't have won as many games as we did because of that stuff. And it covered up, like I said, some of the stuff, some of the blemishes. Clearly, like the quarterback stuff was all crazy. It seemed to work at first. We thought it was nuts, and it worked, and tried it again, and it didn't work. But look, I think the coaching. I go back to, like, you want to compare it to the Heat as a sports fan down here,
right?
Very true.
I feel like they found their right. Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Eversol got to that before. I almost tweeted that out, and then I held back. But it's like I said. I think the main thing, separate from the bounces and things like that, I feel good going forward with Flores, even though we're talking about some of the mistakes or decisions that maybe start things up the wrong way. Yeah. I feel good about it. I feel good about Spo. And that's the important thing to me, is like this idea of the trade talk and this and that, which we'll get into, and all this stupid stuff. I don't feel the panic going into next year like, oh, shit, like another year of crap. Like,
right.
I, for years, have been like, all right, it's not next year. Like you always say, like, the fans, next year's the year.
Yeah.
I haven't felt that way in a while, but I do feel that way. And a lot of guys have been saying, like, they're a year ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening with a lot of the casuals too. It's just you see the wing and it's all exciting and Twitter and that's not reality.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch the games and it's not, look, they have a great defense, but that ain't gonna happen again next year. Look at the 49ers. They got to the Super Bowl because of their defense and some offense and running, but they got some injuries and all of a sudden it's out the door. So lightning in a bottle sometimes, but the timing with the quarterback didn't line up this year.
Right. And
receivers.
Yeah, that was just a lot of things. And if you look at breaks, bounces, luck, all that stuff is just part of football, right? Like, we can go back and watch all of the Steelers games and say that they could have just as easily had a worse record than they did.
Better to be lucky than good sometimes.
Right. Sometimes it just happens as part of it. My emphasis was, I think a lot of fans took the score line and saw we lost by 30 and were like, oh, that's it. This team is trash. Like, forget them. Right. And they're really quick to get off until we're late in the season again and we have maybe 5 more wins than losses, whether that's 5-0 or 9-4. Like, they're just like, until we do that again, I'm not going to care anymore.
I don't know about you guys, but it felt like to me, like it was like this volcano that was prepping to be erupted. And the minute that Tua threw his second interception, it was like, oh, here we go. This is what we've been trying to let go for like the last 3-4 weeks, to where all of Twitter exploded, and everybody became a quarterback coach, and everybody became an offensive coordinator.
Well,
Everybody
Fitz being out all of a sudden in his last game fueled the fire of he's not. It's just this whole shitstorm of
and one thing
not
too
goodness.
that someone mentioned that I hadn't even thought of, that is a good point, is Fitz also not being on the sideline probably did play a factor. I'm sure he has a lot of things he talks to Tua about on the sideline after drives, right? I'm sure he's telling him, hey, next time go look for this. This is what's happening. Hey, look here, like check this stuff out. He wasn't there to give him that too, right? So I'm sure that played a part in it as well. There was just a lot of things going on, but we can all agree the offense wasn't what we wanted it to be, right? Whether that's because of the pieces, the calling, the play calling, the coaching staff, it doesn't matter because Gailey is gone. We have to answer those questions moving forward.
Are you sure?
Oh, I mean,
no, this time it's true. I think
let me
ESPN reused the fake story. They reused it for real this time. And
they reused the same one?
Nah, I'm lying.
Okay, that would be great.
But then did you see like the 10 other Twitter accounts that changed that they tried to do the same thing? Stale,
By the way, my 2 cents on that, Schefter already knew. He had already gotten the idea of it, and he just rewrote it. Yeah, how our boy Brady does.
Put it out there.
Yeah, you know how our boy Brady
someone found it.
Yeah, he writes the article halftime, and then by third quarter he edits a little bit, fourth quarter edits, and then bam, sends it.
Yeah, okay. So then let's talk about the Gailey thing, right? Where do we stand on the Gailey thing? And I'll speak my piece on this first. Do I think Gailey made all the right decisions? No, I didn't like his conservative play calling, but I think we put everything on Gailey, right? When Gailey was not all of the offense's problems, right? We saw the offense work when we had the people in there and when he was calling it fully. The issue is at some point it just turned, and I think it was a matter of him and Flores never agreeing on who they wanted to play. The Ben comment talking about
Century Village.
I think it was best for everyone that Chan left, but I still don't think we can sit here and say Chan's gone, everything's going to be fixed, because this offense still has a long ways to go. And there was a lot more than just him and his play calling. But Taco, what do you think?
I mean, first of all, it's Tua. I mean, I put this question out there, I try to put things in a way on Twitter that people actually give me answers that I'm looking for, So, because people want to be all serious. And I could sit, all the mock drafts and stuff is great. My mock draft consisted of 14 quarterbacks.
I think that's the way we should go.
It's not the trade machine to me. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different. But look, the Gailey thing, I think it was time. We all agreed that was part of the problem. But I think going back to the Heat and the Dolphins comparison, the idea that Gailey was only the problem, it's crazy, right? If you're gonna go and say that you can put culture into guys like Bradley Beal, who people say can't play defense, then how does that not apply to Harden, right? So I do the same thing. Don't get me wrong, I wanted Gailey gone. I had gifts lined up, ready for it.
Same.
Right? But if we're gonna talk about, he looked so great against Arizona when he had his weapons and this and that, and you can't just apply things the way you want to. He didn't coach him terribly in that game necessarily. If he had good numbers and they won,
right?
Yeah, it was crappy, man. You understand, and it makes sense in human nature. If they hired the guy thinking Fitz was going to be the guy,
it was the shift though in the play calling, right? Because I understand the Arizona's nitpicking one of the games, but I mean you can go back to games that he called them fairly well, and it just wasn't happening. There came a point in the season where there was just a shift to the first half. We're going to call short run plays, a bunch of RPOs, just try to pound the rock down the middle. And then if we're down, the first drive of the second half always worked, right? It felt like every time Tua was in, the first drive of the second half worked. So what I'm saying is,
the no huddle stuff, right?
I think his system had the potential to work. I think it was just his decision making that really had me questioning things at times.
Do you think on my end of it, because I look back, like I said, the way the game's played out defensively, special teams wise, that also altered game plans at all? Because you have to think you're not going into games like the Rams game thinking, we're going to get all these extra points that aren't on offense. You don't do that, right? That's not how you look at it offensively.
No,
but when that happens, all of a sudden you adjust.
Why pass it? Why risk throwing an interception? And we can all agree that they probably told Tua, play it safe. Don't throw picks, make the right decisions, as opposed to what they told the other guy. But
and when they're winning, we are a little bit more okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
When they're losing and it doesn't seem like it's working anymore and they're changing quarterbacks, it's Gailey. And I get it, man. Like, new blood. And what I was saying about the fantasy question was, I just said, like, if you had any choice of whoever, regardless of current job title, like, who would you pick? That's when you get the real names. You get the Lane Kiffin coming out and all these fun names. But that's, to me, I don't know if you want to get into that at some point. But two, like, who do you see being the best fit for Tua, really?
Yeah, which is what a lot of it's going to come down to. So, Juan, you watched a lot of the All-22, right? You watched basically all of it, right? So what did you think about Gailey? The whole whenever it shifted, like what happened?
So, all right. So I'm probably on the minority side of this because when the year first started, I was actually a huge fan of Gailey. Based off the Seattle game, even though we couldn't punch it in. Based off the Jacksonville game and a couple other different games where and kind of funny, they all had Fitzpatrick starting, right? But I just felt like when he had his guy, which is obviously Fitzpatrick, we're going to be honest about it, his guy was Fitzpatrick. When he had his guy, he felt more comfortable than with Tua. He felt like he could design a different offense. He felt like he could attack differently. He felt like he could do different concepts, right? The problem is it gets to a point where Flores has to step in and be like, hey, this isn't working. Because as much as Flores wants to be a defensive-minded head coach, as much as he wants to pound the ball and play, ball control, don't turn it over, you can't rely on that. This is 2021. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes not being out there. We're talking about all these boys being out there who will drop 40, 50 on you like it's nothing, right? And for me, I think I began to kind of sour on Gailey right around Tua starting because it became so drastic, right? Where you couldn't tell me that it was situationally based or whatever it is that he tried to kind of like say with it. And then also like his offense for me, just on a foundational standpoint, just didn't make sense. Like if your team obviously lacks offensive weapons and the very few that you have, start with Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker. Mike Gesicki should not be going into the middle of the second quarter with no targets.
Yeah.
Devontae Parker should not be fighting. Yeah. Devontae Parker should not be fighting Lynn Bowden for targets. I understand the concepts. I understand the RPOs. I understand all that. But if it's not working, there needs to be adjustments. And when those adjustments get adjusted, you need to be able to adjust to that. And it felt like when we first started with Tua, we did a lot of rollouts, a lot of boots, a lot of different stuff like that, right? But it got to a point where it stopped working. It didn't work. And we never did anything else about it. We tried to do the same thing. And the few games that we actually were successful, it was more so because of the run game. And it was kind of like, okay, well, Gailey, like, dude, what are you going to do about this? And then ultimately, like, it just kind of like I told you guys, like that whole pitcher reliever type of stuff, like,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And then it also creates a rift between Gailey and Flores because the 3 yards per carry account was talking about it this week, how Robbie Brown is actually Gailey's guy, which is the quarterback coach. And the other dude, Godsey, is actually Flores' guy. And then when Robbie ended up getting COVID and he ended up not getting back to the quarterback room because Godsey didn't give it up. So I feel like that those little things like that create risk between the head coach, the quarterback, and the offensive coordinator. Because remember, too, Flores had a Tuesday morning meeting with Tua every week, but there was no mention of Gailey there. So there was just a disconnect between the three of them, and unfortunately, some people are going to say that he's a scapegoat, but to me, he's the rightful goat. I guess I don't know.
Right, Manny, you came in here. What's going on?
Yeah, man? I mean, listen, this is your guys' platform and stuff, but
no.
I think that I've watched enough ball to know that obviously this is Flores' second year only as head coach, right? Gailey has so many years of experience, collegiate-wise, professional-wise. So it's my take that maybe Flores was just having Gailey around so he can kind of see a little bit how it works per se. Not saying that, Flores is not going to put his stamp on it, right? But of course, it helps when you have experience there. You get to look at that. Sure. You get to talk to that daily. You get to, do things together, right?
Right.
But when I look at Chan Gailey, and I look at the situation that happened with Tua, we would have all wanted, obviously, the offense to be opened up the way it was with Fitzpatrick, man. But I don't know many teams in this league that would have opened up a playbook with no running game, with a bad pass protection offensive line.
And everybody hurt.
The Chargers.
Huh?
And everybody
hurt too.
Yeah, and then everybody hurt. So that's my only thing. And then I get it. Gailey is one of those old conservative coaches, right? He's gonna do things the old way. He doesn't care if the offense nowadays is going to a new set of schemes. He doesn't care. He has his mindset set, right? I'm not gonna get my rookie quarterback into trouble. But then Flores sends a message of putting him in the first game against the Rams, and we kind of say, wait a minute, this is to win. Right? I mean, there's no ifs or buts about it. This is to win now. So I think, in a retro sense, I think the team did a little bit of a bad thing in giving us mixed messages to the fan base, because you have one side saying, "Oh, we love it. Tua's playing. We're gonna win," and the other side like, "Wait a minute. Let the young rookie quarterback get his feet wet." All right, and it was very unfortunate because the first Rams game against the Rams, the defense just kicked ass. I mean, unfortunately, they were up by so many, but then you saw in the second half, the offense was complete crap. And it's been complete crap ever since. They couldn't run the ball, and Devontae Parker wasn't 100%. Jakeem Grant was running these slants every 10 yards or whatever the case was, and Tua wasn't really, he wasn't doing much to it. So that's my only thing. I don't know many OCs in this league that would have opened up the playbook for a rookie quarterback like that.
It's gonna sound crazy, right? But was it a bad thing for Tua specifically, for the defense and special teams to be doing all that? Like, would it have helped him and allowed him to do more? You know what I'm saying? In some strange, bizarre world.
Yeah. No, Taco. But again, you're talking about a rookie quarterback that these guys didn't come into the facility, right? The whole summer, when the time they were drafted, not to mention he was dealing, with the whole hip stuff.
Yeah.
With his rehab. I mean, there was a lot of things that Tua had to overcome. And that's the one thing that gets me so upset about all these Dolphin fans. We want to bash on Tua. But it's like this young man just finished, rehab on a major surgery, okay? And then all of a sudden he has to learn an NFL playbook with an all-star coach like Gailey. I don't know about you, but I'm sure Gailey's playbook, it's about 1,000 pages, because that's how much he's been in this league, right?
Maybe it was if he didn't throw it away. But
it was for Fitz.
Yeah, here's what I'll say.
It's easy. Just close the ball.
Yeah, but hold on. Here's what I'll say it for it, right? I don't think they ever did send us mixed messages. And you guys can disagree with me on that, or we can discuss that. But I don't think they ever did, right? Because Flores thought our defense gives us the best chance to win. For our defense to be in the best spot, we can't turn the ball over. He would rather have a 3-and-out that leads to a punt as opposed to an interception that totally flip-flops the field possession, right? So on top of that, it's, proven by the fact that when he feels like the offense is going slow, and they mentioned this on the 3 yards per carry podcast, they say, you can see Flores kind of telling them, hey, hurry up the offense, get more tempo, let's go. And when he decides, okay, Gailey's just not going to give it to me, or maybe it's just Tua that's not going to give it to me, I'm going to put in Fitzpatrick because I know Gailey will call it then, and we're more likely to do it then. So I don't think it was ever mixed messages. It was always about winning. The issue was the mixed messages were probably from Flores to Gailey, where they never seemed like they were on the same page about this.
Well, then this is my final thing that I'll say about that. Now that you actually made perfect sense. The way that they coached the offense, the way they called plays during games, it didn't feel like they wanted to win. To me, it didn't feel like they wanted to win.
It didn't feel like Gailey wanted to.
There you go.
You're saying that they didn't feel like they wanted to win, or they didn't want
Gailey
Tua?
Didn't want Tua.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you felt like it was on purpose to kind of say, hey, look, this kid can't. Look, and again, let's go back to the beginning. We're talking about it. Was he 70 years old? He got brought out of retirement. And
but it's true.
Hey, if you look at it,
being brought out of retirement to get fired too. I mean,
right.
Flores had to just let him, take his time with it.
So I always go to the Russell Wilson comparison, and it's looking a little less like that now. But
That's the way rookie season. If you're talking about
I'm saying just skill set wise, like it's not the same playmaking ability, but people forget, like they signed Matt Flynn to a big deal that offseason and we didn't get him, and it was Matt Flynn season.
Yep.
And all of a sudden all of a sudden it wasn't. And that's kind of when it was like, you know, they brought Gailey in kind of, I think, under the same impression that it was Ryan Fitzpatrick's season and Tua's coming off the injury and we're bringing him along slowly and it's not about this year Tua-wise. And then you're 70 years old and they're like, hey man, things change. Take this young kid. And look, I didn't play football. I played other sports, but I understand how it is. You put a different player in the same position, even if they have equal talent-wise, different skills, like you have to adjust, man. and you have an entire playbook that it seems like it would fit Tua to some degree because Fitz rolls out and he can move.
Right.
And they did that at the beginning, but then Tua got hurt with the ankle. Like there's all these weird things that happened along the way, and it was just you felt good at times, and then at times it was, you know, what are they doing?
And I don't know why it looks so different when any other team runs a bootleg, right? They run a play action bootleg. Their quarterback comes out against our defense.
Clean.
They've got a tight end open right in front of them, no defender close, and they've got a deep option if they want it. And it felt like every time Tua ran it, there was a guy in his face within half a second of him turning around.
A 2-yard dump off.
We would run it 10 to 12 times a game.
No, I'm sure.
By
But
the third or fourth game, I know. That's why the Denver game. That's how they destroyed us. You don't understand. The first series, the third down, we ran a boo. Justin Simmons did not even look anywhere else. He knew exactly where the play was going, and he just went
because there's nobody on this team, and we'll get into this. Okay, so everybody's asking for like a mock draft. Like people mentioned mock drafts at the beginning and like all this other stuff. We're gonna have a bunch more episodes. We're gonna keep doing this weekly. We're going to have mock drafts where we do them live on here, right? We're going to pull up the screen and like show all the options. We're going to talk about free agents for the different positions, specific position breakdowns in terms of how do the Dolphins players do, who do we want to keep and whatnot. But I just have to say it, the wide receivers, there's no speed. There's absolutely none. There is nothing. If I'm an opposing defensive coordinator where I tell my safeties, hey, watch your back, somebody might beat you over the top. There's not a single guy. The only guy was Jakeem Grant, who got hurt and couldn't catch the football. So
what's the one Tua play we think about because it was the national championship game and the game when he played Devonta Smith. Man, it was a deep ball, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and that was another
Get
thing.
Some guys open.
On 3 yards per carry that people have all, like at the beginning of the season were like, Tua's one of the best RPO quarterbacks of all time, and now you got Trent Dilfer coming out saying Tua's one of the best four verts quarterbacks of all time. So it's like, okay, we ran an RPO. It didn't look like it was working. So
don't get me started on Trent.
Let me just add to that too, because I feel like a lot of people look at Tua and they're like, oh, he looks small and oh, he looks like he doesn't really have an arm and that type of stuff. Let me tell you something. For the people who don't really know football, a quarterback's arm is mostly from his lower body. So all of his power, all of his drive, all his push, all his downfield, it comes from footwork and lower body. And I don't know if you guys have gone back recently to watch Tua tape or Tua highlights from Alabama. Homie was thick. And over here, he looked like he lost a good 20, 30 pounds. And before the year, Skip and Shannon were actually talking about it. And it was more so Shannon because he's an ex-player. He brought up how when a player goes through like a big injury, right? Their whole offseason, their whole everything is training to get back to the point where they were at when they got injured. Yeah. There's no improvement.
He went 5 months without moving, basically?
Yeah.
5 months.
So there's no improvement on where you're going talent wise or your accuracy or nothing. You're just trying to get back to that level. And for me, I was gonna do it probably later on in the offseason, but I'll just double down now. I think next year we're looking at 30+ touchdowns from Tua and probably less than 15 interceptions, bro. Because the way he's gonna come in and he's one of those players where he's kind of like Baker, but he's more of a humble Baker, where he'll be like, yeah, you know,
that's an understatement.
Exactly. It's all fuel for him, bro.
But humble fuel is the difference.
What did he tweet?
Roses will bloom.
If people don't think that Tua is going to come out of this fired up, and okay, that was my one thing, right? After the game, we had one game left, right, to get into the playoffs, which was Colts Jaguars. I said it then. I stand by it. I would have loved to have gone into the playoffs to play the Bills one more time. I would have loved it. Because the worst thing that could have happened is we played the same game and we got blown out again. What's the difference between getting blown out once and twice in a row? it shows you something, right? It shows you something with some of these players, and I would have loved to have seen their responses. That's the only reason why I would have done it, right?
I think the only thing I don't like about that is if you're saying it's the same result, like in hypothetical, okay, same exact result, right? Is it the same way that it happened? Because I think part of the reason that, I don't know, like the black that I'm wearing type of thing, the funeral style, is more the way the season ended, not because of Tua. So, the defense and everything all year was what carried us, and that's what kept us hyped up all year. And then all of a sudden, that last game, we had none of that, and it was like our number one weapon, which was our defense, was gone.
But I would have loved to see Flores get another crack at Dable and Josh Allen, because there's something about those two that Flores cannot figure out.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're telling me ahead of time it's the same result, I don't want that. But if you say you get a crack at them again, fine, go ahead. Yeah, I'm with you.
I get what you're saying. And not to just kind of continue to beat on Gailey, but I just saw it on my notes, so I had to bring it up. One of my biggest frustrations is like there was just no growth from the offense. And when I say that is the same stunt that would confuse Austin Jackson and Eric Flowers in week 8 was confusing them week 17. Like even different things like Ford, you're playing Ford out there. How many snaps and how many drops does he have? And even then, Ford was the one directing the other receivers, letting them know where to line up. So how are you going to have a receiver who wasn't with the team 2 weeks ago telling your starters, your guys who've been there since training camp, Lynn Bowden, not since training camp, right after, how to line up in week 17? That to me falls 100% on coaching, no matter what, because your guys aren't ready, and that's on you as a coach.
But that's on them as a coach, right? So there are questions that we could come into this game about Brian Flores. No part of me is saying we got to get rid of him, and I still think he's the answer. But you watch that game, and this isn't a Buffalo team that's going to be an AFC contender for the next few years. This is our direct rival. They're in our division, right? They're between us and the playoffs every year, because every year we have to play them twice. They're probably going to keep running this division, right?
Sounds like the last 20 years from New England.
But that's what it is. And that's what it is. And they mentioned on the 3 yards per carry podcast, Simon said it, and it stuck with me, where he said
New England's not that far off too, by the way. But go ahead.
If they end up with a quarterback real quick, man.
But New England's further off than Buffalo is, right? Assume they come in with a rookie. The rookie has a mediocre.
They got Belichick.
Are you asking me? Because not even just Belichick. You remember, if you look at last year's squad, they had a good 4, 5, maybe 6 players who opted out, and you're gonna get a bunch of starters back on the defense. I don't think the Patriots are gonna be out for too long.
So then, what you're saying is, going to be the third best team in our conference again?
I feel like we're gonna be competing for 3 wild cards or 3 playoff spots in the AFC East for the next couple of years.
We have a ways to go. But I would have wanted to see them play again, because I'd want to see the adjustments. I'd want to see them figure something out. Whoa, thanks, Cap.
Yo, is that our first donation, bro?
Yeah. I think
we're stealing the out.
Yeah. Let's see.
We're getting weird.
I think we got 3 first rounders for Sewell.
Thank you, Cap.
And Parsons or Collins if Sewell. What do you guys think? Okay. I'm gonna answer that question just because he paid money, and I'll sell out like that. I'm fine. I'm fine with it being that way. I started watching
some layers off if I need to, by the way.
I'll say this about Sewell. Sewell looks really good, and no part of me thinks that, just pass up on him, or we need to fight for him. I'm just not sure that he's what we need, right? I feel like there's other pieces that could help more. I feel like Jackson and Hunt can develop and get a lot better than they were. And watching his tape, the one thing that I didn't like was it felt like sometimes the speed got to him. Sometimes some moments got to him. And I just don't want to keep going through that with the rookie when I can get a wide receiver that I think is ready now. So personally, I go wide receiver, but I don't know what you guys think.
I think my heart, my love would want a receiver to be going at 3. What I know from Patriots history and what I know from a Flores defensive-minded head coach, I would see the Oregon lineman at 3, and I would see Najee at 18. And I feel like they would probably just go go more so the route of just building a tough running team, and maybe down the line getting a Rondale Moore or something like that. Because at that point, think about it, you're kicking in either Austin Jackson or Robert Hunt, a first or a second rounder to a guard, and then you're putting somebody back in as depth. So I mean, at that point, you're solidifying your offensive line. You're getting a playmaking running back, which paired up with the lightning of Miles Gaskins and Ahmed. I mean, that would be amazing. And then, I feel like maybe we probably attack a wide receiver more so down the line, because what did the Patriots take like with Belichick? 20 years to draft a first round wide receiver?
Yeah, it took them forever. And
so,
he didn't even hit.
That's what I was going to say about the running back thing, right? And if you're looking at it and I do also look at it like that. So I'm with you in terms of you're looking at like a sort of copycat Patriots thing going on here, right? And I do a lot of fantasy, so let's take it from that aspect for a second. Running back by committee, man. It's like, and you don't get me wrong, they drafted Sonny Michel. I think that was the first time they drafted a running back. Was that the first round?
Yeah.
In forever, right? And then it was Corey Dillon years ago, and they traded for guys and things like that. But that's the only thing. And look, I'm not saying they don't need a running back, but if they can fill out, you know Tua needs, he needs the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Gaskin, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't go get these running backs, but you've seen Gaskin and Ahmed be successful without him having weapons, and with Gailey and all these things that are changing, right? So I'm not against the idea if you prioritize the wide receiver and getting him the weapons. Like if you're investing in Tua,
right?
To me, that's your franchise. Like we joke around, like that's the franchise. There's
but
shirt,
it is.
5 reasons. Go check it out.
And it's not just the franchise. It's Brian Flores and Chris Greer's jobs.
Yeah, it's right. Exactly. And they gave him 5 years, I think, right?
Yep. If Tua fails, probably Flores and Greer are going to be out the door with him. They hitch their wagon onto him. They have to make sure he succeeds. So and that's where I understand the desire for Sewell. And when I said wide receiver, I hope everyone knows I'd want to trade down for wide receiver at that point. I don't want to take a wide receiver at 3 unless no one's offering me any trades, right? If people are trying to just scam me out of the 3rd overall pick, I'll sit there and I'd rather take it at 3 than anything else. But I just think wide receiver is going to help a lot more. And I have more faith in this offensive line than a lot of other people do, just because I think they were a product of injuries that hit at the wrong time, right? Like Jackson got hurt middle of the season, had to come back, didn't seem the same. Flowers got hurt when he came back. He didn't look the same. The chemistry wasn't there. And they'll learn how to defend stunts. They have to. I mean, you can't just keep running a stunt on them and having a free rusher every other play. So that's the one place where I say Sewell is great, but I don't think he fixes the problems that we're seeing right now. But, it is what it is. I appreciate Cap for that question. And Cap's now in the mood for tacos. So way to go, Taco. That's all you. But
I'm going to go buy 5 tacos. I don't know how much tacos are.
Dude, tacos are $1 Taco Bell, man. It's fantastic.
That's what I'm saying. I figured 5.
We'll talk about offensive coordinator. Okay, let's say this. We can talk about offensive coordinator alternatives, or we can do season awards to just wrap this thing up and not talk about it again for a while. What do you guys think, Juan?
I think let's leave the old coordinator to
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
and I think we should probably just finish off the review.
Let's just wrap up the season. Yeah. So the season, I still think the season was a positive one. I'm still happy with the fact that we went 10-6. Shows that this team, and we have the 3rd overall pick. Like nobody does that. We have a higher pick now than we did last year, which is nuts to me.
When we were tanking for
the tank, right?
Yeah. So we'll just go through each of the awards. So I'm gonna save MVP for last. Most improved player on the Miami Dolphins this year, Juan.
AVG.
Okay. Taco.
I mean, I want to say something like Tua, right? I mean, I really do think ultimately, right? No, look, it's got to be a Gaskin or something like that. I mean, you didn't expect him to come out and actually be able to be an RB1. I mean, fantasy-wise, he was an RB1, 2-ish.
What did he get? Like 97 or 93 yards per scrimmage a game, and that was like 9th in the league. Yeah,
he was a guy you could put in there, and you can't say that. I'm not a big playing Dolphins in fantasy, but he was a reliable guy.
Ben, chill. We can do season awards if we want. I know this ain't the Grammys. Gosh, Ben, He's fiery in the
This-
comments.
Yo, I
is-
got some
this is called the
trophies. I got the
Grand Start, bro.
tacos. You want me to bust out the tacos for
Do
trophy
it.
time?
Hey,
I'm
bro,
gonna
Marcelli.
I'm gonna go with I would have gone with Nick Needham for most improved, and then that last game came
You
through.
got fried.
Like, my goodness. I'll go with AVG as well. My only thing with AVG is I think last season was really just because he was hurt. Because when he did play last season, he looked
was good. He
about as
flashed.
good. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
I
one of the-
I say more AVG just so I could be more specific, just because the run game part of it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like last season, like any lineman would go ahead and just run block him to the edge, and that Raiders game, I don't think you guys realize Colton Miller, who he went up against left tackle, is
Colton Miller's
6'8",
Yeah.
328, and AVG is 6'4", 243, and he
Yeah.
was bull rushing him.
Well, how many
3 different
turnovers
times.
happened because of Van Ginkel? Whether he tipped the pass or he got to the quarterback
against
or the
against
punt
Kansas
block.
City?
And like Van
Right, he was
Ginkel-
part of all of those big
Yeah.
plays on TV where we were like, I was crying, saying, "Yo, all the good things are happening to the Dolphins." Yeah.
Yep.
All right, offensive MVP. Taco, we'll start with you.
Look,
This is
I
the
think
toughest one.
I think look, I'm gonna go at this in a different way. We're not just gonna talk about stats, right? Talk
Right.
about every time you say talk about, burn it into your head because that's what happens to me, and I want you all to suffer the way I do.
No, we do. Trust me.
Listen, I cannot stop hearing at the end of the day now. So just
Talk about it, talk about it.
I know this
Oh,
is
yeah,
gonna
at the end of
happen.
the day.
I'm gonna make it happen. Look, it's got to be Fitz for me, and I'm not a Fitz guy, and I'm
That's
not
all
a Fitz
right.
guy. But between playing, that I mean, that was part of it. But look, he also coached Tua.
yeah.
He was player coach, right? And if Gailey wasn't doing what we wanted, I mean, I think Fitz probably did more for him. If we're saying in the last game Fitz not being there was a problem, maybe
Right.
he was the MVP.
Yeah.
On offensive MVP.
I'm gonna go Gesicki, just because with him it was when he had it going, and most of the times it was with Fitzpatrick. Funny enough, Taco. But I think with Gesicki, he took that next step to where now we're looking at him like as a top 8, maybe top 7-ish tight end in the NFL. And once we get a coordinator who kind of realizes the talent that we have there at tight end, and look at the whole position in general. I mean, it was a historic position group for the Dolphins, period. But being led by Gesicki, I would just say Gesicki.
Yeah. I think the obvious answer is Jordan Howard. I don't know how you guys missed that.
Oh, that's a great one.
But I mean, other than him, but other than Jordan Howard, I'm gonna go with Gaskin.
What
He
about
was
Bill
probably
O'Brien?
the most consistent player. Bill O'Brien is
That's a
our
good answer.
That's a team MVP right there.
But that's like multiple seasons. That's like a 3-season thing. You know?
Hey, and I'll say it now. We'll probably be talking about him when we're talking about offensive coordinator.
I should have saved Bill O'Brien for team MVP. That could have been an easy one for me.
All right, defensive MVP. This one feels kind of easy. I mean, it has to be X, right? Like there can't be anybody else.
So I'm
No.
gonna say Byron, and it's because my overall MVP is X, and I didn't
Okay.
want to give overall and defensive to X, which he earns. He did earn, but the only reason I say Byron, and it's because after that Bills game, it felt like Byron came back healthy. The defense all of a sudden could, block, could sit here and tackle and could cover, and it just felt like everything got going after Byron came back.
Right. All right. So then, I mean, for me, it's X. It has to be X, and I don't mind giving it to him twice. We're down to team MVP. I mean, the defense played really well. I do wonder if X doesn't grab all those interceptions. Like, let's say he grabs only 3 or 4 this season. Does that defense look as good as it did? And for that reason alone, I got to say Xavier Howard is my MVP. Taco, do you agree? All right.
I mean, look, besides the obvious, I think that's the obvious. And I'll go back to my other default answer, which is, in a weird way, it's Fitz. Separate from the actual play on the field. Like, you didn't have other guys player coach. So, I don't know. But, yeah, it's X.
Real quick, because I already said my MVP for X, but also my coach of the year for us is Gerald Alexander.
Yeah.
He's the defensive back
I'm
coach
really
for
worried about
the Dolphins.
losing him.
We're gonna lose him.
Yeah.
But he's so like intellectual, how he speaks, how he coaches, and then just also the growth that we saw from X, from Needham, from Byron, and hopefully from Noah, and down the line. But that's just my little tidbit there.
Right. So we're going to close off with this last thing because it's what everybody wants to talk about. It's the new James Harden of football, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Deshaun Watson. It's funny enough, it's the same exact cities talking
Right.
about it. Deshaun Watson, trade, no trade. I'll let you guys go first. Taco, since you're the guest, you get first shot at Watson.
I mean, can I go pull out my two Tua jerseys while I talk about this? And my Tagovailoa.
The one that we waited 6 months from Fanatics for.
Oh shit! Look,
Oh gosh.
You want Tua to be the guy. Like, there's no I get it, Manny. I know. But if you're having the conversation as far as an objective, like you're not a Dolphins fan, like I understand having the conversation, and that's all I'll say about it. Like I want them to trade for Harden. Like, so if we're going in that direction, I don't feel the same way where I'm like, yo, make that move.
Yeah.
But if they did it, would I be mad that I had to get back my two Tua jerseys? And
They should
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
I feel like it would make it even more special.
I think they would have like a trade-in program or something.
Yeah.
Obviously better, but
I just add the line to the 1, make it a 4.
I feel like, oh, Kai, what's good, bro?
Guys here for Watson talk.
I didn't say anything.
I just wanted.
Juan, what were you going to say about it?
Quickly.
Oh, no, go, Kai.
Let Kai go.
Oh,
I just
Kai's
wanted to quickly
internet,
come and say that.
I think we got bad
Anyone
reception.
suggesting that we should trade for a Watson?
He just wants to kill us. That's all he said.
Yeah.
I heard you on the
can hear
radio,
you.
and what I'm assuming you're saying is
We're
you don't
gonna
want
play in the 5-hour show radio.
Right, he doesn't want Watson. Yeah, he doesn't want Watson.
Go watch it. Kai was on there for the whole second hour.
Watson.
So right, my first initial reaction was just like, well, why the hell are we talking about this? Like, are we just talking like La La Land? Like, hey, could I get Peyton Manning in his prime too? Like, is that an option? Like, but then I started to do some research, and I'm realizing that he put out a little cryptic tweet, right? He said that not again, or something to that effect. Because
he tweeted out a Frozen 2 lyric, something
about Frozen 2, according to House.
Yeah. According to our boy House, it's a Frozen 2 lyric. But it's just kind of funny, right? Because he said not again, or to that effect, not again with another ex-Patriots hire. And in my mind, while we were having that whole chat in the 5 hours chat, I'm like, well, why the hell would he come down here with all the Patriots down here? Wouldn't it be Frozen 2 all over again?
No. Okay, so here's what I'll say. First of all, we're different than that. Like, the issue that he's upset isn't the Patriots thing, I think, so much. I think he's upset because, and Ian Rappaport tweeted this out, he was going to be involved in the GM and head coaching search, and they had an organization, a firm, do the search for them. And last minute, they're just like, we're just going to go get Nick Caserio from the Patriots. So what he's upset about is not being included in that. He feels like he's out of the loop. He has no power, even though he is the team.
He's a franchise guy, and he's not being treated like a franchise guy.
Yeah, that team is 0-16 without him, easily. Right? So here's my thing. I love Tua. I've loved Tua the whole time. I've always wanted him to be on the Dolphins. But if I have a chance to trade for Deshaun Watson, a proven quarterback who has the ability to be an MVP, I do it. And she wants Watson too.
And Watson.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that's why I don't want to get too much into it because I know how Twitter can be, and people will start unfollowing us like we're But I think when you're talking about the difference of the media talking about, hey, you should think about taking a guy at 3 compared to an unproven college guy with potential, right?
Right.
So you're talking about people suggesting that they do the same thing that they did with Tua minus the injuries. Doing that compared to trading for a guy that you've seen it do it in the league at an MVP level for a while, and your team is ready to win now.
Yep.
That's where it becomes the Harden thing because the Heat are ready to win now. They were and more ready than the Dolphins.
Right.
But if you put let's fantasy wise, like you take away Tua out of this lineup into your fantasy lineup and you put in Deshaun Watson.
Everybody would take that.
Boom.
And maybe not in 2 or 3 years. Like you'll never know, right?
Yeah. And
but is 19 catching those passes from Watson too, or what?
Look, 19 would probably end up catching them just because that's how it goes. We got to
DeAndre Hopkins left him. Look what happened. He made Brandon Cooks and
we got to wrap
up. We got a Heat game
on here. But look, final say is we'd all trade for Watson if it was offered. I think as great as Tua can be and as much as we love him, Watson is a proven commodity and he's 25, right?
That's at the right price. At the right price.
That's the right price. Yeah, I wouldn't sell everything, but Tua, maybe 1 or 2 first, then a couple seconds. Yeah, I might do that. But that aside,
my jersey replacements.
Yeah, don't worry about it. They'll pay for it. The Dolphins will pay for it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We did not talk any offensive coordinator candidates. We're going to be doing that next week. Next week, we're going to go over offensive coordinator candidates as well as wide receivers on the free agent market, in the draft, what we got to get rid of from this year, who's coming back, and all of that. Taco will be back later in the offseason for a mock draft, right, Taco?
I'm here all the time, man.
Awesome.
Anytime you send me that DM, I'm here.
Got it. Taco will be here for it. Tomorrow, I will be in studio with Ethan for the 5 Reasons Sports Show for the second hour from 11 to 12. I'm going to try to convince him that he should love Harden more than Beal, but that's just going to be for fun. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Juan, thanks for being here. As always, man, you're a host. Taco, thank you so much, man. And